1, 2, 3, 4.
Mrs. and a mic, you don't need much more.
4 misses.
Come on.
4 misses.
Come on.
5, 6, 7, 8.
It's your favorite podcast, so save the date.
4 misses.
Come on.
4 misses.
Come on. 4 misses and a mic. Come on. 4 misses and a mic. Come on.
Hi, guys. Welcome to the 4 Mrs. and a Mic podcast. We are so happy that you decided to join us and listen in. I am CJ, and I have been a Mrs. since January of 2014.
Taking it over to the left is Cece. I've been a Mrs. since November 2010, and we want to welcome you all to our podcast.
And I am Elle, and I've been a Mrs. since May 2011. Thanks for listening.
And this is your girl Bree, and I've been a Mrs. since November 2012. Hope my husband doesn't come at me for forgetting our anniversary just now.
Yeah, you definitely came in a little bit slow.
Oh, sorry. I was looking up research for our topic. I wasn't just zoning out, and I lost it, and I'm now on a page about mermaids, so I need to find where I'm supposed to be. No pressure, right? Thanks. Appreciate that for you, Cece. Okay, all right. So welcome to 4 Mrs. and a Mic. Today, we are going to be talking about the 3 loves that every person is supposed to experience in their lifetime. So if you're not familiar, we got this idea from reading an article by Kitty First. You can Google it. It's definitely on the internet. And it's just exploring that each person in their life is supposed to experience 3 loves. And each one of those loves plays a different and important role in your life. So I'm going to give you guys an overview of the article right now so you'll know what we're talking about. The first love is the one that you meet when you're young. And it's basically, for lack of a better term, it's puppy love. It's what you think a relationship is supposed to be. It's, not very deep. It's kind of surface. It's cutesy. And it's important. You got to kind of dip your toe in the pond. The second one is the one that you learn the lessons. That one is the hard one. That one's the one that usually causes the worst heartbreak. It's usually the hardest. It's the one you have to fight through. Sometimes it can be, emotionally abusive. It's definitely drama. But that one is important because it's supposed to teach you what you don't want from love. And the third love is the unexpected one, the one you didn't see coming, but it knocks you off of your feet. So what do we think, guys? Do we think this is true? Do we think that every person is supposed to have 3 loves? Or did you guys have 3 loves?
So I definitely agree. This is Cece, coming from the left side of the room.
Strong side.
So the number 1, the puppy love, I definitely think that is what you dream about because it's your first experience with love, period. So usually it comes in a form of, wow, this is what it's supposed to feel like. And then the second one, not what you want. And then the third one is like, this is everything all together. So you get the no, the yes. You get the yes and then the no. And then you get, wow, this is really it.
So I agreed with the 3 love theories, and I definitely had those 3 in my life, and I can think about them, and maybe I'll get into them a little bit. I don't know. But I a little bit disagree with what you just said, because you said that the first one's like, this is what it's supposed to be. I think that first one, you don't really know what it's supposed to be. I think you're just going on what you've seen in movies and what you've seen from friends and what, you don't really know what it is. You think it's just, this is what it's supposed to be. And it's just very, I hate to say superficial, but it kind of is. I mean, and not to say that I guess your first love can't be your number 3 love. Not to say your first love can't be number 1, 2, and 3. I mean, one person could definitely have been all 3 relationships. God, heaven help me if I'd have stuck with number 1 this long, but.
So I think some people get lucky, and number 1 ends up being the one.
Yeah.
Hats off to them. But that was not my story. But I will say number 1 for me was my first experience with love. And you get like the butterflies, all of these new feelings you did not know exist, especially because you're so young. You've never had that before. So, you know, you talk to this person and they make you happy. You get excited to be around them.
Which is in essence the do want that I
So-
think I was
Right.
saying as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. Number one is a yes for sure. So you think number one's an experiment, basically?
I think so. For me, I think it was an experiment because looking back on it, that wasn't love, not the type of love that I have today. That was
But-
very,
At the time,
yeah. Oh yeah, at the time, I thought I was gonna marry this person.
you were booed up, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
but love for you then was a different kind of love from your first relationship with 2, and then your relationship in the beginning 3, and now to the point where you're at love now.
Yes.
It's all different types of love.
Yes.
Would you agree?
Well, Elle, what do you think? I mean,
Well, I definitely experienced all 3, and I know that the puppy love, it was definitely there. You know, I thought, you know, this was the person I was going to be with forever, and it was like a fairy tale, and everything was so perfect. But I didn't know what love was at all at that time, like at all. And obviously, you know, it didn't work out because it wasn't real love. And then the second love, definitely a lot of heartbreak and a lot of learning. It was a difficult experience at the time, but now I'm like, you know, that definitely wasn't love at all, you know.
I think number 2 for me, the truth in number 2 was that he showed me what I absolutely did not want for the rest of my life.
Exactly.
Yes.
But will you say that your number 3, which is obviously where we all are here, would you say that your number 3 resembled 1 and 2
No.
at all?
I never went through the things with number 3 that I went through with number 2. Number 2 made me question so much about myself, and number 3 just solidifies my security in who I am. Like, for lack of a better term, number 2 put me through the ringer. Like, I mean, I'm just gonna put it out there. You know, he cheated a lot. I have not dealt with that with number 3. He made me justify things in my mind that looking back, I'm like, what were you thinking, girl? Like, how could you be okay with that? How could you let a guy put you through that and let you think that that's okay and that's how you should be treated and that's what you deserved? Because I know now I'm worth so much more than that, and I'm worth someone who's not going to put me through that kind of heartbreak. But at the time, I mean, I thought that was what an adult relationship was supposed to be. And part of that might be because my number 2 was a good bit older than me. And at the time, I was probably too young to be in that series of a relationship. But you can't tell teenagers anything. So if you guys are out there listening and older people tell you, they give you advice, take it. They're talking from experience. But I didn't want to hear that at the time. I just wanted to be in love, and I thought drama and all that was just normal, par for the course for relationships. I didn't know that that's not how it's supposed to be.
Right. So for me, number 1, like I said, was more experimental, superficial love. Number 2 was love, but it was not necessarily a healthy relationship.
Right.
I definitely cared about this person. I definitely would have done anything for this person. But it was not until the relationship was over that I realized we were never really headed in the same direction. We never really had the same goals as far as life and a relationship was concerned. A lot of what I thought I wanted out of life was because he wanted it. It wasn't what I wanted. It was, I had really taken on a lot of his thoughts, his ideas.
It's the eggs. It's the eggs from Runaway Bride. Have you guys you've seen that movie, right?
I have.
We know
I
Elle hasn't
definitely
seen
haven't,
it
no.
because you guys don't know this, but Elle apparently doesn't watch any movies ever. So if you ever have a question about a movie, do not ask her. But basically, in Runaway Bride, each time she was going to get married, she ended up liking whatever eggs the groom liked. And she never really sat down and tried to figure out which eggs she liked. It was always, well, he likes over easy, I like over easy. Then it was, well, he likes scrambled, I like scrambled. It's the eggs. It's the same thing.
Well, then, yes. I liked whatever eggs he liked, and I believe he liked his eggs scrambled.
So how do you like your eggs now?
I actually like them differently. I switch it up sometimes.
So you
So,
kind of bounce around with the eggs. Got it.
So I'll say that my number 3 and what marriage is overall, I can say that your 1 and your 2 will actually teach you that that marriage is not. Well, I guess my number 3 is my marriage. So let me say that. But even though you may not take or you may not go through the same exact obstacles that you went through with your 1 and your 2, it does let you know that in your 3, you'll see all different variations of that. Because marriage is not just your number 1, marriage is not just your number 2, and marriage is not your number 3. So I think that even though you see different things, you get all of the different feels of 1, 2, and 3 in your 3 or my 3.
Well, I think that's
I'll say that.
probably really true for you, and I can say this pretty accurately because I've known Cece since, 1998, maybe? A long time. I'm not going to tell you how old we guys are, but older. And I can say this. Right, but not too old. I can say this, though, because I pretty much feel like I was there for yours, and you were there for mine. Don't you feel like my 2 was volatile?
I think my 2 is volatile too.
See,
and
I don't
agree that
think
your 2
was as, what's the word I'm looking for? Damaging. Like it was bad.
I disagree. I was there for Cece's number 2, and I think it was,
It was damaging.
yes.
Well, you're right. Let me not negate what it was. And
Damaging.
Well, I can say my number 1 wasn't really damaging, but it was silly. You know, it was kind of like, oh, we broke up over something very silly. But, you know, I was devastated, but I knew after it wasn't real love, you know. But my second love definitely was damaging. And to be honest, I mean, with my love now, my marriage, obviously, it has a lot of the fairy tale part of the number 1, you know, all the great aspects of the number 1 it has. But, you know, there was a little bit of heartbreak because we broke up at one point before we ended up, you know, married. So kind of had a little bit of aspects of both.
that's really sweet. You guys don't know this also, but Elle's husband is like one of my very best friends in the world. And that's how I got the opportunity to meet her, who's become one of my really, really good friends also. So we're really blessed in that regard. But it's just really cool to see him, you know, Prince Charming like. That's really sweet. Aw, shout out to Elle's husband.
So how do you guys feel number 1 and number 2 prepared you for number 3? Or do you think it didn't prepare you at all and number 3 was just a blindside?
I think it definitely prepared me for number 3.
100%.
Because the butterflies that you get with number 1 come back for number 3.
I got butterflies with number 2 too.
I was gonna say you see the butterflies there, but I really think that it's a building block. So you start off with the butterflies in number 1, and you go through like, oh, the kitty, ha ha ha, and then you get to number 2, and you get the butterflies and then the everything else. And once you get to number 3, you see it all comes together, and I think that's how you figure out that number 3 might just be it.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
one. Oh.
I agree.
Butterflies and harps and angels and.
Did you guys know number 3 was the one automatically? Or did that take some time?
No.
Because according to this article, number 3 catches you off guard.
And that is 100% true for me. I hated my husband the first 6 months of knowing him, and he hated me back. So to have this all-encompassing love form from that, which was a deep disdain, it totally rocked me, totally knocked me off my feet, totally shocked me, did not see that coming. And we like to joke about the fact that if we could go in a time machine and go back to that day when we first met and tell each other, do you know that is the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with? That is the mother of your kids. That's your husband, your wife. you could have knocked me over with a feather. Then I would have never believed you.
So really quick though, we can also just to clarify that even though there is a 1, a 2, and a 3, that there were some passerbys in between.
Absolutely.
Okay.
None of us are saying we've only had
I
3
remember
guys.
some like passerbys that looked like a little bit of number 1. They looked like a little bit of number 2.
I can
looked
tell
like
you-
a little bit of number 3, and then it was just like crash and burn.
I can tell you this: none of my passerbys look like number 3. So shout out to my husband. But the ones that I thought even remotely resembled number 2, I headed for the hills. Like I was like once bitten, twice shy, basically, from that relationship. And it's good that it made me stronger because I wasn't willing to just accept anything. I was actually really just reconciling that I would be single because I didn't think I could find that super duper love, basically.
So I never thought that. Even after number 2 crashed and burned, the idea of starting from scratch was daunting. I did not want to do that. And I think I was very guarded after that relationship. But I always knew I would find somebody else and get married. So it never crossed my mind that I would be single and I'm done with this. It's over.
I thought I was
going
gonna be single forever.
I
The
thought-
thought of starting all over again just did not even.
I
Didn't even cross.
I was
my
gonna be the
mind.
cool
I thought it
auntie
was gonna
that
be-
traveled and had a massive Chanel collection. I'm still working on the massive Chanel collection, but I was okay with that. I was like, if I'm single by the time I'm 30, I'm just gonna go buy a Porsche. I'm gonna live my best life, and I'm gonna be that chick.
My whole life plan was done.
I was gonna be the bad
early
bitch that walked in the club, all heads turned, and she never really committed to any particular guy because there were 30 of them at any given time, and and I was okay with that at that point because I was tired of like the wrong guy. I really was. It was just like, what do I need this for? What do I need to get my hopes up for?
That was so not me. I was pregnant with 2 kids. And let's see, pregnant with 2 kids, married first, of course, with the doves at the wedding, the carriage that we rode out of town. And
So you guys
I
don't
had
know
all my
this, but I have to
degrees.
tell you, Cece has a little bit of a Disney princess thing about her. So you may notice she drops those
30.
little nuggets every now and then.
By 30, my life was complete, and it was just building from there in my head.
Do you
At
feel like
18.
that's not what happened?
It did happen. There were some
Hiccups.
hiccups
I
along
like
the way.
hiccups. Don't you like hiccups?
Yes.
I mean, not that we
pretty
like the
much-
hiccups, but we like the
pretty
word.
much.
Right.
Pretty much had it then, but I didn't see that all the way through.
Well, what did you think, Elle? Did you feel like those passerbys could have been 1s, 2s, 3s, or?
Well, I mean, honestly, I was kind of not really in the relationship, but kind of talking to someone when I met my husband.
Dun, dun, dun. I didn't know
And
that.
I kind of thought, I didn't think he was the one at all, of course, but
We just want to make sure that he might listen to this. So is he cool?
he knows. He knows.
Okay. Just so we clear.
No
But
secrets. We're not
as
breaking
soon
up
as
marriages
I-
here.
As soon as I met my husband, I said, I'm just gonna stop talking to this other guy,
Oh.
he got my attention right away, and we got along really well, and everything was going great. But like I said, we ended up breaking up, and that's actually when we both realized that we couldn't live without each other, and we were gonna be together forever. So that's when we actually solidified everything, and we were like, you know what, we're gonna be together. Like,
That's cool.
That is
My number 3 is similar in that I did not think it was going to work at first. We were complete opposites on everything. We would just sit down in the evenings and have these conversations that really sounded like more like disagreements, but they were conversations. Nobody was arguing, but it was, I like the color blue. Nah, I like the color red.
But how did he like his eggs?
Inquiring minds want to know.
So there was a point in time when we broke up because we didn't think it was going to work. we decided to separate. And for me, I don't know, like within that breakup, it's like a switch just went off. And it was like, what are you doing? This is the guy. He has everything you're looking for. He treats you amazingly well. He would be a wonderful husband. He would be a wonderful father. All of my friends loved him. My family loved him. I was probably the last person to realize that he was the one. Now, what? You could not separate us. But at that time, I don't know, it wasn't clicking.
Would you say it was because of all of the things you had seen in 1, 2, and passerbys that made you so guarded with number 3?
Yes, definitely.
So
Yes.
for us, we had a breakup, but my husband is a little bit younger than me, and at the time a little bit less experienced in relationships than I was. And I think what happened is he was scared by the prospect that he was in this super serious relationship and that this was the it relationship, and that can be scary to younger guys, basically, that at 20 they could be settled to that level. So I know for me, when we broke up, I basically treated him like I treated all the passerbys and everybody after 2, and I was like, okay, well, on to the next one. But for him it was, I cannot live without her and I need to try to get her back, and here we are.
So my 3 was really strange because it definitely caught me off guard. But the biggest thing was, I think what really made me realize that he might be number 3 or the one at that time was the arguments. We went the longest time with no arguments. But the first time we actually sat on the phone, we were on the phone for hours. Like hours. And we never ran out of stuff to talk about. We laughed.
Your husband's really funny too, so that helps.
It was a really long conversation. And every time after that for a while. And we just really didn't have arguments. And we kept looking for it because I think we were both expecting the bad to come.
Right.
And the bad didn't come for a really long time. And even the bad wasn't the, oh my God, I hate you, just get out my face.
Yes.
It was just a disagreement. And the disagreement didn't come for a really long time. And we were both guarded because we had been in bad relationships before. And it just never came. So I think ultimately that's the biggest thing. That was the biggest thing for my number 3. It was just, hey, this guy is really nice. But I also had to believe and let my guard down because I was very guarded by the time number 3 came around.
Makes sense.
And
so,
we're inseparable now.
So I think we all can agree that the 3 love theory is pretty accurate, with a little asterisk next to it, because sometimes there's not 3 separate people, but you definitely have to have those 3 relationships. Is that?
Yes.
Right, I think for us, the 3 love theory worked well.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, since this is our first episode, we do have a question. I won't call it a listener question because she hasn't listened yet, but we told some of our friends and family that we were embarking on this podcast journey, and we got a question from a friend of ours, Kim from New Orleans, and her question was, how did you know that number 3 was the one? Or that the person that was your one was the one? So, I mean, do you guys, anybody
So
want
is it, how did you know number 3 was the one, or how did you know your husband was the one?
You know, let me find out. Let me go back to Kim's question.
Is 3 synonymous to the one? Did we decide on that?
For me, it's a absolute yes.
For us it is,
Right,
but
and
for
for us it
everybody
is.
it may not be. That's why I'm asking, did she mean was your husband the one, or?
Well, for sure. I mean, if we go back to what we were talking about, number 3 has to be the one, because
Right.
that's the core shaking relationship. That's So how did we know that number 3 / the one / our husbands was that person?
Right. I get that. I just want to clarify, because some people listening, you know, they may have been high school sweethearts and number 1 was the one.
But I also think if number 1 was your one, your number 1 was also your number 2 and your number 3. It was just phases of the same relationship. Not the same relationship, but phases of the same person.
So everybody, I think, will go through 1, 2, and 3.
Yes, it
Whether
may not
it's
be
one
3 people.
relationship,
And
right.
it may be 10 people. You may
Right.
have number 2 8 times. Heaven
know
help
that-
you.
I know-
Heaven help you.
I know that
my
I had a
goodness.
1, 2, and 3 because they stand out the most.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
So that's
Mine
how I
too.
can define my 1, 2, and 3.
Because thinking back, and this is just a little bit petty, number 1 broke up with me because he thought the pastures were greener. Haha. Number 2, I broke up with because I was just fed up with the enormous amount of heartbreak. Haha. And number 3, we're still together. So, joke's on them. Haha. But back to Kim's question. So, how did you guys know?
I kind of just said mine, so I'll let you guys go.
Well, CJ, how did you know?
Yeah, I think I said mine too when it was like it was a light switch that just went off, and running down my checklist of things that I wanted in a man, things that I wanted in a relationship, things that I wanted for my future kids. He checked off everything on that list and then some. The things that I didn't even know I wanted, he provided in the relationship.
Ding, ding, ding,
So
ding.
he was all that and more.
All of that and more.
All right.
And,
okay.
yeah.
All right, Mr. CJ.
And
What about you, Elle?
I kind of said mine earlier too as well. Like when we did have that separation and we broke up, it was kind of like I realized I really can't live without you, and he was the same. So it was kind of like we knew we had to be together because being apart was not working.
Not an
So-
option.
Right.
For me, I actually can pinpoint the exact moment that I knew he was the one. And Elle, haha, your husband was present at this moment because, like I said before, he and I were really, really, really close
Sounds
friends.
like somebody else likes Disney princesses too.
Me?
Yes,
What
because
did-
you knew at the exact moment.
Well, it's not like, birds came out of the sky or anything like that. Let
mean,
me
if
tell
you
my
need a
story,
bird.
please. Thank you. So we'd been dating, similar to what you said, Cece. We had not had any arguments. Everything was just chemistry and flowing and butterflies and happy and love. And we were at the point where I was introducing him to the people in my life that mattered, one of which was Elle's husband. And we went over to his house, and it was close to Christmas. In some kind of way, we got on the topic of what we were getting each other for Christmas. And your husband asked my husband, "What are you getting Bree for Christmas?" And he said, and I quote, I'll never forget this, "Whatever she wants, I just want to make her happy."
Aww.
And so on some fronts, that's shallow because I do like to be spoiled, but it had such deeper meaning that his goal was to make me happy. And I truly believe that is the purpose of life, to be happy. So here's this person that I'm in love with, and he's telling me that all he wants is to make me happy. What more could I ask for? So that's when I knew.
That is really sweet. You guys are going to learn. Sweet stuff makes my stomach turn.
She's not lying. CJ is not a mushy person.
No. So
At all. She's kind of the mean one in the group.
I'm not mean, guys. But my stomach is turning a little bit.
So, Kim, we hope that answered your question, and we wish you love and a number 3 at some point. If you don't have that person already, we hope you get them soon. And right before we depart, I just want to leave you guys with a little bit of a quote. Just want to say, everything is everything. What is meant to be will be.
And when all else fails, find somebody who pushes your glasses up on your nose.
Oh my
without you
God,
having
yes.
to say something.
Yes. And find out what kind of eggs you like, because the eggs are important. So,
Okay, so we thank you guys for listening.
thanks.
Yes.
Thank you.
If you have questions or comments that you would like to send us, you can email us at formrsandamike@gmail.com. That's the number 4, Mrs. and a Mike @gmail.com. And you can also follow us on Instagram.
Follow us on Instagram. We're going to be putting up some relevant content and cool photos of us podcasting and things that are relevant to relationships and love. And you guys can also DM us questions there. Anything anybody wants to add to that? Nope.
That's a no.
This was really fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we did.
Yes, and we hope that you guys join us again for episode 2.
It's coming soon.
Bye.
Bye.